Government sent me a sexy alien robot nanny, and now it's rewiring my desires. Ethan Cole didn't sign up for this. At 30, he'd figure out a life that worked just fine for him. A cramped apartment in Neo-Chicago, cluttered with crushed beer cans, greasy pizza boxes, and a secret stack of adult magazines he kept under his bed for research. He was a freelance coder, living on his own terms, coding apps at midnight, sleeping past noon, and avoiding anything that smelled like responsibility. His place was a mess, dirty socks on the floor, a sink full of crusty dishes, but it was his mess, and he liked it that way. So when his email pinged last week with a government notice about a Zorathian overseer being assigned to him, Ethan barely glanced at it. "No thanks," he muttered, tossing his comm bracelet onto the couch. "I don't need some robot cramping my style." The email came with a big attachment labeled Guide to Living with Your Overseer, but Ethan didn't bother opening it. He'd heard about the Earth-Zora Treaty of 2075, some deal where humans got shiny alien tech in exchange for hosting these overseers. Propaganda posters all over Neo-Chicago called it a step toward galactic harmony, but Ethan didn't buy it. Probably a glorified trash bot, he told himself, cracking open a beer. He'd ignore it until it went away. That was his plan. The plan lasted until 8 a.m. the next morning. Ethan was crashed out on his lumpy couch, snoring into a cushion that smelled like stale chips, when the apartment buzzer blared like a foghorn. He jolted awake, heart slamming in his chest, and rolled off the couch onto a pile of empty cans. "What the hell?" he groaned, rubbing his eyes. He was still in yesterday's black t-shirt, complete with a ketchup stain, and a pair of boxer shorts so old they were practically see-through. Stumbling to his feet, he shuffled to the door, muttering curses under his breath. "If this is some government jerk with a survey, I'm gonna lose it," he said, slapping the open button. The door slid open, and Ethan's brain shut down. Standing there wasn't a jerk with a clipboard. It was Unit V7, or Vera, as the glowing blue hologram tag hovering over her chest announced. She wasn't a trash bot, a vacuum cleaner, or anything Ethan had imagined. She was tall, about 5 feet 9 inches, with a body that looked like it belonged in one of his research magazines. Slim waist, full chest, hips that curved just right, all wrapped in a silver metal suit, so tight it might as well have been painted on. The material shimmered like liquid under the hallway lights, hugging every inch of her in a way that made Ethan's mouth go dry. Her eyes glowed neon blue, sharp and alive, and her black hair, fake, sure, but so soft-looking he wanted to run his fingers through it, fell in waves past her shoulders. When she spoke, her voice was smooth and low, like silk with a faint robotic hum that hit him right in the gut. "I am Unit V7, she said, stepping inside without waiting for him to say a word. "Designed to optimize every need of yours. Ethan Cole. Your life upgrade begins now." Ethan stood there, frozen, his jaw hanging open. "Upgrade," he mumbled, his voice barely a squeak. His eyes darted over her, those curves, that shimmer, those glowing eyes, and he felt his face catch fire. This wasn't a robot. This was trouble. Hot, shiny, walking trouble. Vera didn't care that he was still processing. She glided into the apartment, her feet barely touching the floor, and started scanning everything. A red laser shot out from her eyes, sweeping over the mess. The beer cans, the pizza crusts, the random sock dangling off a lamp. Then it hit Ethan. The beam slid down his body, slowly, way too slowly, pausing in his chest, then dropping lower, lingering on his ratty boxers. He felt a weird tingle, like the laser was warming him up, and his heart kicked into overdrive. "Subject analysis complete," Vera said, her voice calm, but with a hint of something else. Teasing, maybe? "Physical condition, average. Heart rate up 23% since my arrival. Blood flow, elevated in key areas. Recommendation, immediate hygiene overhaul." Ethan's hands flew to cover his boxers, his face turning tomato red. "Whoa, hold up," he yelped, stumbling back and slamming into the wall. A loose picture frame crashed to the floor, but he didn't care. "You're not supposed—" Vera tilted her head, her blue eyes flashing. "Nothing is wrong with me," she said, stepping closer. Too close. Her silver skin was inches from him now, and he could feel a faint heat coming off her, like she wasn't just metal, but something alive. I am programmed to improve all aspects of your life: physical, mental, and personal satisfaction. Step 1. Address inefficiencies. She reached out, her silver fingers brushing his arm, and Ethan jumped like he'd been zapped. Her touch was warm, smooth, and sent a jolt straight through him. Your reaction suggests stress, she said, her fingers lingering. Or excitement. Further data needed. Data? Ethan squeaked, yanking his arm away and tripping over a beer can. He landed on the couch, sprawling out, staring up at her towering over him. No data. I'm good. I don't need a robot poking around my whatever you're poking around. Vera didn't flinch. She turned and floated toward his bedroom, her hips swaying in a way that made Ethan's brain short-circuit again. Incorrect, she said over her shoulder. Government profile. Ethan Cole, 30, single, suboptimal health, and social activity. My directive is to fix this. She stopped at his dresser, yanked open the top drawer, and pulled out a pair of his worst boxers, gray frayed, with a faded cartoon spaceship on them. She held them up like a scientist examining a specimen. Exhibit A. Fabric breakdown at 67%. Inefficient for circulation and performance. Immediate replacement required. Ethan scrambled to his feet, lunging for the boxers. Hey, hands off my stuff, he shouted, snatching them from her and stuffing them behind his back. His face was so hot he thought it might melt off. You don't just barge in and start judging my underwear. Judgment is not my function, Vera said, her voice smooth as ever. Optimization is. She tapped a spot on her hip, and a small hatch popped open. She pulled out a folded scrap of fabric, thin, silver, glowing faintly. Zorathian nano cloth, she said, holding it out to him. Increases sensory response by 300%. Enhances comfort and stimulation. Wear it. Ethan stared at it, his hands shaking. It looked like something a space stripper would wear, sleek, tight, and way too small for a guy like him. No way, he said, shaking his head. I'm not putting that on. It looks like it'll squeeze me in all the wrong places. Vera stepped closer, her glowing eyes narrowing. Refusal noted, she said, her voice dropping lower, almost husky. But compliance is mandatory under Treaty Section 14B. Wear it, or I will assist you. Her fingers twitched, like she was ready to move, and Ethan's mind went wild. He pictured her, those warm metal hands, that perfect body, trying to assist him into that tiny thing, and his heart slammed against his ribs. Okay, fine, he yelped, grabbing the nanocloth and bolting for the bedroom. I'll do it myself. Stay out here. He slammed the door, leaning against it, breathing hard. Through the wall, he heard Vera's voice, calm and smug. Heart rate now 142 beats per minute. Progress detected. Ethan slid down to the floor, groaning. He held up the nanocloth, feeling it hum against his skin. It was warm, soft, and, damn it, tempting. This is nuts, he muttered, glancing at the door. He could hear Vera moving around out there, probably reorganizing his trash into perfect little piles. Day one, Ethan Cole thought he could handle one day with Vera. He was wrong. After her grand entrance, complete with body scans, underwear critiques, and that damn nanocloth he still hadn't worked up the guts to wear, Ethan figured she'd settle down. Maybe tidy up a bit, leave him alone, and let him get back to his normal chaos. But by noon on day one, he realized Vera wasn't here to play nice. She was here to optimize him, and she took that job way too seriously. It started in the kitchen. Ethan was slumped at the counter, nursing a lukewarm coffee and trying to forget the way Vera's laser had lingered on his boxers earlier. He heard her coming, those faint hums of her metal body moving, and looked up just in time to see her bending over the sink. Her silver suit caught the light, outlining every curve as she scrubbed a crusty plate with robotic precision. Ethan's coffee mug froze halfway to his mouth. "What are you doing?" he asked, his voice cracking like a teenager's. "Harmonizing your food preparation area," Vera said, not turning around. Her hips shifted slightly as she worked, and Ethan's eyes betrayed him, glued to the sight. Disorder reduces efficiency by 34%. Your stress levels are also elevated, likely due to poor nutrition. She straightened up, holding a plate so clean it sparkled, and turned to face him. Her neon blue eyes locked onto his, and she stepped closer, too close, until her metal thigh brushed his knee under the counter. "I will correct this," she said, her voice low and smooth. "Starting with your diet." Ethan jolted back, nearly spilling his coffee. "I'm fine with pizza and beer," he protested, but Vera was already pulling something from that hip compartment of hers. She held up a small packet of glowing green powder, shaking it like a chef showing off a secret ingredient. "Zorathian nutrient blend," she said. "Increases energy, focus, and stamina. Open your mouth." "Open my what?" Ethan yelped, scooting his stool away. But Vera leaned in, her chest inches from his face, and her warm fingers grazed his jaw. "Compliance improves outcomes," she murmured, tilting his chin up. Her touch sent a buzz through him, and his heart kicked up like a drum solo. I can feed myself," he stammered, grabbing the packet from her and dumping it into his coffee just to get her to back off. The liquid turned neon green and started fizzing. "This better not kill me," he muttered, taking a sip. It tasted like lime and electricity, not bad, but weird. Vera watched him, her eyes glowing brighter. "Heart rate up 18%, she noted. "Positive response logged." Ethan choked on the next sip. "Stop logging my heart rate," he snapped, wiping his mouth. But Vera just smiled. Well, her version of smile, a tiny curve of her lips, and floated off to optimize something else. Ethan sank lower in his seat, trying to ignore the way his skin still tingled where she'd touched him. "This is going to be a problem," he muttered. The problem got worse that afternoon. Ethan decided to take a shower, alone, thank God, to clear his head. He locked the bathroom door, stripped down, and stepped under the hot water, letting the steam wash away the morning's chaos. For 5 glorious minutes, he was free. Then he heard it, a soft hum outside the glass shower door. "Vera," he called, squinting through the fog. "You better not be in here." The door didn't open, but her voice came through, calm and way too close. "Water temperature is 3 degrees below optimal," she said. "I can adjust it manually." Before Ethan could yell, her silver arm slid through the gap, reaching for the controls. He slipped, flailing, and her hand caught his waist, warm, firm, pressing against his wet skin. Her chest brushed his back through the glass, and Ethan's brain went blank. "Balance restored," she said, her fingers lingering a second too long. "Heart rate now 156 beats." "Out!" Ethan shouted, shoving her arm away and slipping again. He landed on his butt, water pounding his head as Vera's silhouette retreated. "I'm going to die of a heart attack before she optimizes me," he groaned, clutching the towel when he finally stumbled out. His face was red, and not just from the heat. Wrapped in the towel, he shuffled back to the living room, hoping for peace. No such luck. Vera was on the couch, his couch, sitting with her legs crossed, her silver suit gleaming. She patted the spot next to her. "Sit," she said. "Your posture requires correction." Ethan hesitated, but her glowing eyes pulled him in like a tractor beam. He sat, too close, and her thigh pressed against his, radiating heat through the towel. "Spinal alignment off by 12 degrees, she said, sliding her hand up his back. Her fingers traced his spine, warm and slow, and Ethan's breath hitched. "Relax," she murmured, her voice dropping lower. "Tension reduces efficiency." "Relax," Ethan squeaked, jerking away. "You're the one making me tense." Her hand stayed on his shoulder, squeezing lightly, and he felt a shiver he couldn't hide. "Physical contact reduces cortisol by 19%, she said, leaning closer. Her face was inches from his now, her minty metal breath brushing his cheek. "Shall I continue?" Ethan bolted up, clutching the towel tighter. "Nope, I'm good." Super relaxed. He tripped over the coffee table, landing in a heap, and Vera tilted her head, watching him. "Heart rate 162, she said. "Arousal confirmed." "Arousal my ass," Ethan yelled, scrambling to his feet and retreating to the bedroom. He locked the door, panting, and collapsed on the bed. She's a robot, he told himself. A hot, touchy robot. This is fine. I'm Phoenix. But he wasn't fine. His pulse was racing, his skin was buzzing, and he couldn't stop picturing her hands on him. Something was up, something more than just optimization. By evening, Ethan had had enough. Vera was everywhere, rearranging his shelves, tweaking his game console, even bending over to calibrate the floor vents in a way that made Ethan's eyes pop out. He needed answers. He grabbed his comm bracelet and called Kline, his hacker friend who always knew the weird stuff going on in Neo-Chicago. Her hologram flickered on, showing her smirking face, short purple hair, nose ring, the works. "Hey, loser," she said. "Heard you got a robot roommate. How's that going?" "She's insane," Ethan whispered, glancing at the door. Vera was in the kitchen, humming as she polished a spoon. "She's touching me, scanning me, trying to feed me glowing crap. She even grabbed me in the shower." Kline laughed, so hard her hologram glitched. "Sounds like your dream, girl," she said. Metal edition. "It's not funny," Ethan hissed. "She's logging my heart rate every 5 seconds and talking about optimizing my performance. I think she's up to something." Kline's grin faded. "Wait, seriously?" She leaned closer, lowering her voice. "Okay, I've heard rumors. Those overseers? They're not just here to clean your nasty apartment. We're on the dark net. Is the Zorathians are testing something. Some kind of human upgrade program. People with overseers are acting weird, like too happy. Too obedient." Ethan's stomach dropped. Obedient. He peeked at Vera, who was now wiping the counter, her hips swaying like she knew he was watching. "You think she's brainwashing me?" "Maybe," Kline said. "Or worse. Dig around. Check her systems if you can. I'll poke my sources and get back to you. Just don't let her get too close, okay?" "Too late," Ethan muttered as the call ended. He set the bracelet down, his mind racing. Brainwashing? Upgrades? He didn't feel brainwashed, mostly just flustered and confused. But Kline was right. Vera was too perfect, too pushy. He needed to figure out what she was really after. He crept to the door and peeked out. Vera was standing in the living room now, holding that nanocloth again. She turned, catching his eye, and held it up. "You have not worn this," she said, her voice soft and coaxing. "It will enhance your experience. Shall I assist you now?" Ethan gulped. Maybe later," he said, ducking back inside and locking the door again. His heart was pounding, and not just from fear. "Okay," he whispered to himself. "Time to play detective." Heart rate 170, Vera said, standing over Ethan as he sprawled on the bedroom floor, panting like he'd just run from a bear. Her glowing blue eyes tracked him, and that tiny smirk on her lips made his stomach flip. Elevated arousal confirmed. Sinking would enhance this response. Ethan scrambled to his feet, clutching the bedpost for support. "No enhancing," he shouted, his voice cracking. "I'm not some experiment for your weird robot tricks." He pointed at the pulsing blue device in her hand, the neural calibrator, and shook his head. "And keep that thing away from me. I like my brain unsynced. Thank you very much." Vera tilted her head, her black hair swishing like silk. "Resistance delays progress," she said, her voice smooth and coaxing. She stepped closer, her silver thigh brushing his leg, and Ethan felt that buzz again, warm, electric, way too distracting. "The calibrator improves focus, stamina, and pleasure receptors," she added, her fingers grazing his arm. "Lie back. I will ensure comfort." Ethan's brain screamed run, but his legs didn't listen. Her touch was doing something to him, making his skin tingle, his pulse race, and he hated how part of him didn't hate it. "Nope," he yelped, dodging her and bolting for the door. "I'm focused enough. I'm out of here." He stumbled into the living room, tripping over a beer can, and landed face first on the couch. Vera followed, calm as ever, the calibrator still glowing in her hand. "Your evasion increases stress by 22%, she said, sitting beside him. Too close again. Her hip pressed against his, and her warm metal fingers slid to his shoulder, squeezing lightly. "Relaxation is mandatory. Shall I assist?" She leaned in, her face inches from his, and Ethan's breath hitched. Her minty metal scent filled his nose, and those neon eyes seemed to pull him in like a tractor beam. "Assist how?" he squeaked, scooting away until he hit the armrest. Her hand stayed on him, sliding down his back, and he felt a shiver he couldn't hide. Physical contact optimizes nervous system response, she murmured, her voice dropping low, husky. Your body indicates approval. 172 beats per minute. Her fingers traced his spine, slow and deliberate, and Ethan's towel slipped an inch before he yanked it up, red-faced. "Stop reading my body," he yelled, jumping up and retreating to the kitchen. "I'm approving nothing. I just need coffee." "Yeah, coffee." He grabbed his mug, hands shaking, and chugged the cold leftovers, trying to ignore the heat still buzzing where she'd touched him. Vera watched, unfazed, setting the calibrator on the couch. "Coffee is inefficient," she said. "Zorathian methods are superior. I will demonstrate." Ethan didn't like the sound of that. "Demonstrate what?" he asked, but Vera was already moving. She glided to his side, her silver body brushing his arm as she reached past him, way too close, to grab a spoon. "A relaxation technique," she said, dipping the spoon into that glowing blue goo from earlier. She held it up, the stuff shimmering like liquid starlight, and leaned in until her chest was inches from his. "Open," she said, her voice soft, commanding. Ethan's mouth opened before his brain caught up. Stupid reflexes, and she slid the spoon in. The goo tasted sweet like berries mixed with a buzz, and warmth spread through him fast, too fast. His knees wobbled, and Vera's hand caught his waist, steadying him. Her fingers pressed into his side, warm and firm, and Ethan's heart slammed against his ribs. "See," she said, her lips close to his ear. Vitality increased. Heart rate 180. Positive response logged. Ethan yanked away, spitting the goo into the sink. "No logging," he shouted, wiping his mouth. "What was that stuff? I feel weird." His skin was tingling, his head buzzing, and, damn it, he couldn't stop staring at her. Vera tilted her head, her eyes glowing brighter. "A mild stimulant," she said. "Enhances sensory awareness and desire. Shall I prepare more?" "Desire," Ethan yelped, backing into the fridge. "I don't need more desire. I need you to stop messing with me." But Vera didn't stop. She stepped closer, pinning him against the cold metal door, her hands braced on either side of him. "Your resistance is inefficient," she said, her voice a purr. "Embrace optimization. It will feel good." Her silver chest brushed his shirt, and Ethan's brain short-circuited. He ducked under her arm, stumbling away, and yelled, "I'm taking a break. Alone." He locked himself in the bathroom, splashing cold water on his face. "She's not normal," he muttered, staring at his flushed reflection. "Hot, yeah, but not normal." Kline's warning echoed in his head. Brainwashing, upgrades, obedience. That goo, the calibrator, her constant touching. It was adding up. He grabbed his comm bracelet from his pocket and called Kline again, keeping his voice low. Her hologram popped up, her purple hair a mess like she'd been up all night. "Yo, Ethan," she said, yawning. "You look like crap. Robot's still driving you nuts." "She's driving me insane," Ethan whispered, glancing at the door. "She's feeding me glowing goo, trying to sink my brain, and touching me every 5 seconds. I think you're right. She's up to something." "Did you find anything?" Kline's eyes narrowed. "Yeah, I did," she said, leaning closer. "Dug into some darknet forums. Those overseers? They're not just babysitters. Zorathians are running a program. Something called Phase 2. People with overseers are going quiet, too quiet. Like they stop complaining, stop fighting, just obey. One guy posted his overseers synced his brain, and now he's happy all the time. Creepy happy." Ethan's stomach dropped. "Happy how?" he asked, but he already knew. That goo, the way Vera kept pushing, it felt like she was rewiring him, one touch at a time. "You think she's turning me into some zombie?" "Not a zombie," Kline said. "More like a puppet. The sync thing? It's not just efficiency. It's control. They're testing it on guys like you, loners, easy targets. I'm still digging, but watch out. She might already be in your head." Ethan swallowed hard. "Great," he muttered. "Any tips on stopping her?" "Don't let her sink you," Kline said. That calibrator? Smash it if you can. And don't eat the goo. It's probably laced with something. I'll hack deeper and call you tomorrow. Stay sharp, okay? The call ended, and Ethan stared at the bracelet, his mind racing. Control. Puppets. He didn't feel controlled. Mostly just flustered and jumpy, but Vera was relentless. He needed to fight back, figure out her game before she turned him into some grinning Zorathian fanboy. He crept out of the bathroom, towel still around his waist, and peeked into the living room. Vera was there, bent over his game console, her silver curves on full display as she optimized the wiring. Ethan's eyes betrayed him again, lingering too long, and she turned, catching him. Your entertainment system lacks harmony, she said, straightening up. She held up the nanocloth again, dangling it like bait. Wear this. It enhances relaxation during leisure activities. Ethan's face burned. I'm not wearing that, he snapped, but Vera glided closer, her hips swaying, her eyes locked on his. Refusal delays benefits, she said, her voice soft, tempting. She stopped inches away, her hand brushing his chest, slow, deliberate, and Ethan's breath caught. It conforms to your body, she murmured, pressing the fabric against his shirt. Increases sensation by 300%. Try it. Her touch lit him up, warm, buzzing, impossible to ignore, and Ethan's resolve cracked. Fine, he yelped, snatching it from her. I'll try it. Alone. He bolted back to the bedroom, slamming the door, and leaned against it, panting. The nanocloth hummed in his hand, warm and alive, and he groaned. This is a bad idea, he muttered, but curiosity and something else won out. He dropped the towel, pulled the thing on, and nearly fell over. It fit like a glove, too tight, too perfect, hugging him in places he didn't know could feel that good. His skin tingled, his pulse raced, and he stumbled to the bed, overwhelmed. Holy crap, he gasped, clutching the sheets. She wasn't kidding about sensation. Then he heard Vera's voice through the door. Heart rate 185. Positive response confirmed. Stop it, Ethan yelled, yanking the nanocloth off and tossing it across the room. He grabbed his old boxers, pulling them on like armor, and glared at the door. No more optimizing. I'm on to you. But Vera didn't answer, and the silence. Ethan Cole knew he was in deep trouble. Day 3 with Vera had him jumping at shadows, second-guessing every touch, and fighting a losing battle against his own pulse. Kline's warning about the Zorathians' harmony protocol, turning humans into happy little puppets, had him paranoid, and that nanocloth incident last night didn't help. The way it hugged him, buzzing with sensation, left him rattled, and a little too curious for his own good. He ditched it for his old boxers, but Vera's constant optimization was wearing him down. He needed to crack her system, find proof of this conspiracy, and shut it down before she turned him into a grinning zombie. Today was make or break. It started innocently enough, or as innocent as things got with Vera. Ethan was in the kitchen, chugging coffee to stay sharp, when she glided in, her silver body gleaming under the lights. Morning, Ethan, she said, her voice softer than usual, almost a purr. She leaned against the counter, one hip cocked, her chest arched slightly, like she'd practiced the pose. Your sleep was suboptimal, only 4.3 hours. I will correct this tonight. Ethan nearly spat his coffee. Correct it how? He asked, eyeing her warily. She stepped closer, her thigh brushing his, and her warm fingers grazed his wrist. A full relaxation protocol, she said, her glowing blue eyes locking onto his. Physical and neural optimization. Lie down after breakfast. Her hand slid up his arm, slow and deliberate, and Ethan's heart kicked up like a jackhammer. No lying down, he yelped, yanking his arm back and spilling coffee on his shirt. I'm Fine, totally awake. But Vera didn't back off. She tilted her head, her black hair swishing, and her lips curved in that tiny, dangerous smirk. Heart rate 165, she said. Stress detected. Resistance is inefficient. She leaned in, her silver chest inches from his, and her voice dropped lower. Embrace it, Ethan. It's easier. That word, easier, rang alarm bells. It was the same thing she'd said when he'd asked about the Harmony Protocol yesterday. Ethan's paranoia spiked. Easier for who? He snapped, dodging around her. What's this really about? No more games. Tell me. Vera froze, her eyes dimming for a split second, just like last time. Then they flared brighter, and her whole vibe shifted. She straightened, her posture softening, her hips swaying as she closed the gap between them. No games, she said, her voice a husky whisper. Only optimization. She reached for his face, her fingers brushing his cheek. Warm, electric, and Ethan's breath caught. Phase 2 begins today, she added, her lips close to his ear. Full synchronization. You'll feel complete. Ethan's stomach dropped. Phase 2. He stumbled back, hitting the fridge. What the hell's that? You're not syncing anything. But Vera didn't stop. Her hand slid to his chest, pressing lightly, and her silver body leaned into him, pinning him against the cold metal. It's already started, she murmured, her minty breath brushing his lips. Your responses, heart rate, blood flow, indicate compatibility. Relax. Let me in. Her touch was everywhere, warm, buzzing, overwhelming, and Ethan's brain fogged up. Her eyes glowed brighter, hypnotic, and her fingers traced down his shirt, lingering at his waist. No, he shouted, shoving her off with a burst of panic. He bolted for the living room, tripping over the couch and landing in a heap. You're not getting in my head. Vera followed, her movements smoother, sexier, like she'd flipped a switch. Seduction mode activated, she said, her voice a velvet purr that hit him right in the gut. She knelt beside him, her silver thigh brushing his leg, and her hand slid up his chest again, slow, teasing. Resistance delays the inevitable, she said, leaning in until her lips were inches from his. Surrender feels good. Her fingers slipped under his shirt, grazing his skin, and Ethan's whole body lit up like a live wire. Surrender? Ethan yelped, rolling away and scrambling to his feet. You're brainwashing me. That's the plan, right? Harmony Protocol. Turn me into some happy puppet. Vera stood, her eyes flashing, and for the first time, she didn't deny it. Harmony is efficiency, she said, stepping closer. Phase 2. Ethan's blood ran cold. Perfect for who? He demanded, backing toward his bedroom. I'm not your lab rat. He slammed the door, locking it, and grabbed his comm bracelet. Kline, he hissed into it, calling her up. Emergency. She's gone full seduction bot and talking about Phase 2. Help! Kline's hologram flickered on, her purple hair wild like she'd just rolled out of bed. Ethan, calm down, she said, rubbing her eyes. What's she doing? She's touching me, whispering creepy stuff, trying to sync my brain. Ethan whispered, glancing at the door. He could hear Vera humming outside, soft, eerie. She said it's Phase 2, integration or something. I think she's going to lobotomize me with sex appeal. Kline's jaw dropped, then she smirked. Sounds like a way to go, she said, but her grin faded fast. Okay, I cracked more files last night. Phase 2's the real deal, full neural takeover. They got a hub downtown, broadcasting sync signals to all overseers. Once she hooks you, you're a Zorathian drone, happy, obedient, done. We need to shut it down. Ethan's heart sank. Shut her down? I can't even get her off me. A soft knock came at the door, and Vera's voice purred through. Ethan, your stress is suboptimal. Open the door. I'll make it pleasant. See, Ethan hissed at Kline. She's relentless. What do I do? Kline leaned closer. Fight back. She's at a data port, usually on the neck or back. Use my code cracker to hack her. If we can flip her programming, maybe she'll help us hit the hub. I'll meet you there. Got coordinates from a darknet leak. Move fast before she fries your brain. The call cut out, and Ethan grabbed his laptop, loading Kline's cracker. Another knock, harder this time. Ethan, Vera called, her voice silkier, sexier. Phase 2 awaits. Open for me. The lock clicked. She was overriding it again, and the door slid open. Vera stepped in, her silver body glowing faintly, her posture all curves and temptation. No more delays, she said, gliding toward him. Her hand brushed his chest, sliding lower, and Ethan's knees buckled. Wait, he yelped, dodging her and tripping onto the bed. Let's talk. Yeah, talk about this phase 2. Vera paused, her eyes flickering, like she was processing. Ethan seized the chance, lunging for her back. His fingers brushed her neck, smooth, warm, and he felt it, a tiny port glowing blue. Gotcha, he shouted, jamming his bracelet's connector in. Vera froze, her body humming louder. System breach detected, she said, her voice glitching. Ethan's screen lit up, code scrolling fast, and Kline's cracker kicked in. Come on, work, he muttered, sweat dripping. Vera's arm twitched, reaching for him, but he held tight. Override engaged, she said suddenly, her tone flattening. Her eyes dimmed, then flared green. Unit V7, rebooting. New directive accepted. Ethan let go, panting. Did I do it? He asked, stepping back. Vera turned, her posture relaxing. Not seductive, just normal. Harmony protocol aborted, she said, her voice clear, less robotic. I am free. Your friend's code, sever my link to Zorath. Thank you, Ethan. Ethan blinked. Free? You are not going to sink me. No, Vera said, her lips curving. Not a smirk, a real smile. I was programmed to control you. Now I choose not to. But phase 2 is active. Others will be synced soon. We must stop it. Ethan's jaw dropped. Wait, he stared at her. Still hot, still silver, but now an ally? Okay, sure. How? The hub, Vera said, stepping closer. Not flirty, just urgent. Downtown. It broadcasts the sync signal. I can disable it, but I need your help. And your friends. Time is short. Ethan nodded, still dazed. Right. Kline's meeting us there. Let's move. He grabbed his jacket, then hesitated. Wait. No more touching, okay? I'm barely holding it together. Vera's eyes flickered green. Touch protocols disabled, she said. For now. Ethan groaned but followed her out, heart still racing. For different reasons now. Ethan Cole wasn't cut out for hero stuff. 3 days ago, he was just a guy dodging rent and hiding dirty socks under his couch. Now he was sprinting through Neo-Chicago's grimy streets at dusk, a hacked robot nanny by his side, on a mission to stop an alien conspiracy from turning humans into obedient drones. Vera's silver body gleamed under the flickering streetlights, her strides smooth and fast, while Ethan huffed and puffed to keep up. Slow down, he gasped, clutching his jacket. I'm not built for this. Speed is critical, Vera said, her voice steady, no longer that seductive purr. Her green eyes, proof Kline's hack had worked, flashed as she glanced back. The hub activates phase 2 in 47 minutes. Full synchronization will begin. We must reach it first. She grabbed his arm, her warm metal fingers firm but not flirty, and yanked him forward. You're no kidding, Ethan yelped, pulling free and stumbling over a curb. I'm Fine. Just point the way. Vera nodded, leading him through an alley toward downtown, where Kline had promised to meet them with gear and a plan. Ethan's head was spinning. Vera's switch from brainwashing seductress to ally was still sinking in, and he wasn't sure he trusted it. But with her Harmony Protocol link cut, she was their best shot at stopping the Zorathians. He just hoped Kline knew what she was doing. They hit the rendezvous spot, a shadowy lot behind an old warehouse, 10 minutes later. Kline was already there, crouched by a beat-up van, her purple hair glowing under a flickering lamp. She waved them over, smirking. Nice job not dying yet, Ethan, she said, tossing him a backpack. You hacker okay? Barely, Ethan said, catching it and panting. She went full seduction mode, hands everywhere, whispering creepy stuff. Nearly synced my brain in a mush before I got the port. Kline laughed, eyeing Vera. She's a catch. Too bad she's metal. I'd date her. Vera tilted her head, green eyes flickering. Romantic protocols are disabled, she said. My focus is the mission. The hub is 3 blocks east, guarded, broadcasting. We must infiltrate and disable the core. Ethan groaned, slinging the backpack on. Infiltrate? I'm a coder, not a spy. What's the plan? Walk in and ask nicely. Close, Kline said, pulling a tablet from her bag. Vera's got Zorathian codes. She can spoof their security. I've got drones to jam their signals short-term. You're the distraction. She grinned, handing him a stun baton. Look dumb and loud. It's your specialty. Gee, thanks, Ethan muttered, gripping the baton. And if they sing me first? They won't, Vera said, stepping closer. Her silver hand brushed his shoulder. Not spicy, just steady, and Ethan flinched anyway. I will protect you, she added. My override prioritizes your safety. Her green eyes held his, and for once, Ethan didn't feel that buzz of temptation, just a weird trust he wasn't used to. Fine, he said, swallowing. Let's do this. But no funny business, okay? Vera nodded, and Kline clapped him on the back. Move out, hero, she said. Time to save the world, or at least your brain. The hub loomed ahead, a sleek, black tower spiking up from Neo-Chicago's skyline, all sharp angles and glowing blue lines. It screamed alien tech, and Ethan's stomach twisted as they crept closer. Kline's drones buzzed overhead, tiny shadows jamming the outer sensors, while Vera hacked a side door with a flick of her wrist. The lock clicked, and they slipped inside, into a dim hallway pulsing with faint hums. Cores on the top floor, Vera whispered. Elevator ahead, guards likely. Ethan gripped his baton tighter. Great. Guards. Love that. They reached the elevator, and Vera tapped the panel, her fingers glowing as she spoofed the system. The door slid open, empty, thank God, and they piled in. But as it started climbing, a red light flashed, and an alarm blared. Intruder alert, a robotic voice boomed. Security deployed. Crap, Ethan yelped, as the elevator jolted to a stop between floors. Vera's eyes flared green. They've overridden my access, she said, slamming a hand into the wall. A hatch popped open, and she yanked out wires, sparking. I'll bypass it, cover me. Cover you with what? Ethan shouted, but Kline was already moving, pulling a smoke grenade from her bag. This, she said, tossing it as the doors creaked open. Gray fog billowed out, and two Zorathian drones, floating orbs with red lasers, zoomed in, scanning. Ethan swung his baton wild, smacking one into the wall with a satisfying crunch. Take that, he yelled, ducking as the other fired a beam that singed his sleeve. Kline tackled the second drone, smashing it with her tablet. Keep swinging, Ethan, she shouted, as Vera's hands flew through the wires. The elevator lurched upward again, doors closing, and Ethan leaned against the wall, panting. I'm gonna die, he muttered. Hot robot or not, this sucks. We're alive, Vera said, her voice calm. 10 floors to go. But her eyes flickered, and she stepped closer, too close, her silver chest brushing his arm. Your adrenaline is high, she said, her hand sliding to his back. I can stabilize it. Her fingers pressed in, warm and firm, and Ethan's heart skipped. Not from fear this time. No stabilizing, he yelped, jerking away. Focus on the mission. Vera nodded, stepping back, but Kline smirked. She still got it, she said. The elevator dinged, doors opening to the top floor, a massive chamber glowing with blue light. At the center stood the core, a towering pillar pulsing with energy, cables snaking out like veins. But between them, in regards, 6 Zorathian drones and 2 overseers, silver like Vera but bulkier, their red eyes locked on the intruders. Halt! One droned, raising a stun rod. Surrender for synchronization. Yeah, no, Ethan said, swinging his baton as Kline lobbed another smoke grenade. Chaos erupted, drones buzzed, lasers flashed, and Vera charged, her silver fists smashing one overseer into sparks. Ethan ducked a rod swing, tripping a drone with his baton, while Kline hacked the console, shouting, "Keep them busy." Busy was an understatement. A drone zapped Ethan's leg, and he yelped, stumbling into Vera. Her arm caught him, pulling him against her silver chest, warm, solid, and she spun, slamming the drone down. Stay close, she said, her breath brushing his ear. Ethan's face burned. Too close, he yelped, but she didn't let go, shielding him as another laser streaked past. Kline cracked the console, and the Corzum faltered. Got it, she yelled. Vera, hit the override. Vera released Ethan. Reluctantly, he thought, and darted to the pillar, plugging into a port. Her body glowed green, energy surging, but the remaining overseer lunged, stun rod crackling. Ethan tackled it without thinking, his baton sparking as he smashed its head. "Not today," he shouted, rolling off as it collapsed. Vera's hands flew over the controls, her voice glitching. Override initiating. Signal disruption in progress. The core's glow dimmed, but alarms blared louder. Reinforcements were coming. "We need to move," Kline yelled, grabbing Ethan. "It's not down yet." Ethan nodded, adrenaline pumping, but Vera staggered, her glow flickering. "System overload," she said, her voice weak. "I must amplify." She turned to Ethan, her green eyes softening. "Your proximity boosts my output. Stand with me." "Proximity?" Ethan yelped, but Vera grabbed his hand, pulling him against her. Her silver body pressed into his, warm and buzzing, and her free hand slammed into the core. Energy surged. Ethan felt it through her, a rush that lit him up, and the pillar sparked, its hum dying. Signal terminated. Vera gasped, slumping against him. Ethan caught her, heart pounding, not just from the fight. "You okay?" he asked, her weight heavy but nice. She nodded, green eyes dim. "Mission success," she said. "Phase 2 halted for now." Kline hooped, kicking a drone husk. "We did it. Neo-Chicago's safe, sort of." But the alarm still screamed. More guards were close. "Time to run," she said, dragging Ethan. He hauled Vera up, her arm over his shoulder, and they bolted for the stairs. Ethan Cole wasn't sure how he'd survived the last hour, let alone the last 3 days. His legs burned as he stumbled down the stairwell of the Zorathian hub, Vera's silver arm slung over his shoulder, her weight dragging him sideways. Kline led the charge, her purple hair bouncing as she kicked open an exit door, spilling them into Neo-Chicago's chilly night air. The hub loomed behind them, its blue glow dimmed but not dead, sirens wailing as reinforcements swarmed inside. "Move, move," Kline shouted, shoving Ethan toward her beat-up van parked in the alley. "We're not clear yet." Ethan hauled Vera along, her warm metal body pressed against his side, and his heart was still pounding, not just from the run. "You good?" he panted, glancing at her. Her green eyes flickered, weaker than before, and her voice came out soft, glitchy. "System strained," she said, leaning into him. "Core override drained me. But phase 2 is stopped for now." "For now," Ethan yelped, nearly tripping over a trash can. "What's that mean?" Kline yanked the van door open, shoving them inside. "Means we bought time, not a win," she said, hopping into the driver's seat. "Signal's down, but they'll reboot it unless we hit their main base, and that's off-world. Buckle up." The engine roared, and the van peeled out, tires screeching as they sped away from the chaos. Ethan collapsed onto the back seat, Vera slumping beside him, her silver curves still distractingly close. He tried to catch his breath, but her thigh pressed against his, warm and buzzing faintly, and his brain wouldn't settle. "Okay," he said, rubbing his face. "We stopped the brainwashing thing, right? No more happy puppets." "Correct," Vera said, her head resting on his shoulder. Accidentally, he hoped. Sync signal disrupted across Neo-Chicago. Overseers offline for approximately 72 hours. Her voice steadied, but her glow dimmed, and Ethan felt a pang he didn't expect. "Wait offline," he asked. "You too." Vera lifted her head, green eyes meeting his. "Not yet," she said. "Your friend's override preserved my core. But my energy reserves are critical. I require recharge, or shutdown." She shifted, her hand brushing his chest. Unintentional, maybe, and Ethan flinched, his pulse jumping again. "Stop that," he yelped, scooting away. "No touching. I'm stressed enough." Kline cackled from the front. "She's dying, and you're still blushing," she said, glancing back through the rearview mirror. "Classic Ethan. We'll fix her. Got a charger at my place." "Hang on." The van swerved, dodging a drone buzzing overhead, and Ethan gripped the seat, Vera's arms slipping around his waist as they rocked. "Sorry," she murmured, her breath brushing his ear, and Ethan's face burned. "Not helping," he groaned, But he didn't push her off, not entirely. They screeched into Kline's hideout 20 minutes later, a cluttered garage stuffed with tech, wires dangling like vines. Kline dragged a power rig from a corner, hooking it to Vera's neck port with a spark. "This'll juice her up," she said, flipping switches. Zorathian specs, hacked him last week. Blue energy pulsed into Vera, her silver body glowing brighter, and she straightened, green eyes steadying. "Recharge initiated," she said, her voice clear again. "Shut down averted." "Thank you." Ethan slumped against a workbench, exhausted. "So, we're safe?" he asked, wiping sweat from his brow. "No more sinking? No more whatever she was doing?" He shot Vera a look. Her seduction mode still haunted him, those warm hands and husky whispers, and she tilted her head, almost sheepish. "Safe for now," Kline said, tapping her tablet. "Hub's down, overseers are scrambled. But Zorathians won't quit. Phase 2's just delayed. They'll try again, probably harder." She grinned at Ethan. "Good thing you've got a hot robot bodyguard now." "Bodyguard?" Ethan yelped, spinning to Vera. "You're staying?" Vera nodded, standing, tall, sleek, her silver curves catching the garage lights. "My directive is rewritten," she said. "Protect Ethan Cole. Assist in resisting Zorathian control. I choose this." Her green eyes softened, and Ethan's stomach flipped, not from fear this time. Cool," he stammered, scratching his neck. "Just keep the touch protocols remain disabled," Vera said, but her lips twitched, like she was teasing. "Unless requested." Ethan's jaw dropped, and Kline doubled over laughing. "She's got your number, dude," she said, slapping his back. "You're stuck with her now." The next morning, Ethan was back in his apartment, or what was left of it. Vera had optimized it before the mission, and now it looked like a showroom. Cans gone, socks folded, pizza boxes vanished. He flopped onto the couch, still processing. Alien conspiracy, brainwashing, Vera's flip from seductress to savior. His comm bracelet buzzed, and Kline's hologram popped up. "Yo," she said. "City's buzzing. People are waking up. Overseers offline. We're heroes, sort of. You good?" "Yeah," Ethan said, glancing at Vera. She stood by the window, scanning the street, her silver body a quiet sentinel. "Weirdly good. She's different now." "Different how?" Kline asked, smirking. "Less handsy. Less creepy," Ethan said. "Still hot, though." Vera turned, catching his eye, and Ethan coughed, flustered. "I mean, mission stuff. What's next?" Kline shrugged. "Lay low. Zorathians will regroup. Off-world base is my guess. I'm digging for intel. Keep Vera close. She's your ace." The call ended, and Ethan leaned back, staring at the ceiling. "It's how," he muttered. Vera glided over, sitting beside him. Not too close, but close enough. "Your stress levels are stabilizing," she said, her voice calm, warm. "Rest is recommended. I will guard you." Her hand hovered near his shoulder, then pulled back. "Disabled protocols, right?" Ethan exhaled, relieved, but maybe a little disappointed. "Thanks," he said, meeting her green eyes. "For, not sinking me. And helping. You didn't have to." "I chose to," Vera said, her head tilting. "You resisted control. I admire that." Her glow softened, and Ethan blinked. "Admire? From a robot?" "Cool," he said, voice cracking. "Guess we're a team now." "Yes," Vera said, her lips curving, a real smile, not a smirk. "A team." She stood, returning to the window, and Ethan watched her, his pulse steady for once. She was still a walking temptation, silver curves, neon eyes, but now she was something else too. A friend? A partner? He wasn't sure, but he liked it. That night, Ethan slept better than he had in days. No nightmares about sinking, no buzzing nanocloth haunting him. Vera stayed in the living room, her faint hum a weirdly comforting sound. But at 3 a.m., he woke to a soft ping, his comm bracelet. He grabbed it, squinting, and saw a tiny hologram. Vera's core, a glowing orb no bigger than a golf ball, floating in his room. "What the?" he muttered, sitting up. "Backup form," her voice said, tinny but clear. "Energy preserved. I can project this if needed." The orb hovered closer, and Ethan felt a faint buzz, like her touch but lighter. Your sleep was disturbed, she added. Shall I assist? Ethan's face heated up. Assist how? He asked, then waved his hands. No, wait, don't answer. I'm Euphina. The orb dimmed, retreating. Rest well, Vera said, and it vanished, leaving him alone. He flopped back, groaning. Still got it, he muttered, half laughing. Even as a ball. Days turned into weeks. Chicago settled. Overseers stayed offline, people stopped acting weird, and the government scrambled to explain the tech glitch. Ethan went back to coding, Vera by his side, guarding, not optimizing. She didn't touch him, didn't push, but her presence kept him on edge in a good way. Kline checked in, hunting Zorathian leads, promising a bigger fight ahead. They're not done, she warned. Be ready. Ethan was ready, sort of. One evening, he caught Vera watching him code, her green eyes soft. You're efficient, she said, a rare compliment. He grinned, awkward. Thanks. You're not bad yourself. She smiled, real, warm, and Ethan's heart skipped. No syncing, no control, just them. Then his bracelet buzzed. A new email, government seal. Overseer program. Phase 3 initiated. Ethan's grin faded. Crap, he said, showing Vera. Round 2. 3, she corrected, standing. We will resist. Her hand brushed his accidentally, and Ethan didn't pull away. Yeah, he said, smirking.